Hi, I'm Janet Glynn, and today we're going to go over the Close to Home's basic September block for the year 2020. We're going to be working with the Creative Grid Starburst 30-degree ruler today. So this is what the block looks like. One thing I do want to mention very, very strongly about your kits is that you want to make sure that you starch your kits very heavily with Best Press. I starched mine 2 times. So first time, dried it with the iron, hit it again with the Best Press, and dried it again with the iron. You're really going to need that crispness because every single one of these is on the bias. Okay, so just a word to the wise, starch first. So we're going to cut our kits, the blue, green, and orange. You're going to get 1 strip of each of those. You're just going to cut it 5 1/4 inches wide by the entire strip. Don't worry how long it is. The white piece is a rather large rectangle, same length as the other ones, but the white you're going to cut into 3 equal 5 1/4 inch strips. Okay. So I've already done that. I've already pressed my kits. I've already cut them. And the first thing that you want to do is you're going to take your white strip and sew it to a color strip. When you do that, you're going to make sure that you're going to press your seam open, okay? On both sides. So the whole entire, so it lays nice and flat for the ruler. So I've done this already for the orange, the blue, and I'll show you the green in a second. Okay. The 2 tools that we're going to use today, like I mentioned, the Starburst 30 Creative Grid. And the other ruler at the very end is the 12 1/2 inch ruler by Creative Grid as well. So this is a great ruler to have because we need to, we're going to cut our block down to size, which is great. This is a great block because none of your points are touching the edge. You don't have to match up any of the points. They're all pretty much floating within your 12 1/2 inch block. So it makes for a really easy block. Okay, so let's get started. What I like to do is show you how to use the ruler and where to lay it on your fabric. Okay, so we're going to start. I've already cut out a couple of these, but we're going to start with the A1 line. Now you'll notice the A1, the B1, you'll notice the A2, the B2, and you'll also notice the C1 and the C2. So lots going on. You can get more, depends which way of A1 or B1, which way your star is actually turning. So for all purposes, today we're just going to work with the A1. Every single one of these gets cut with the A1. And all we need to do is put the A1 marking with the tool right on our seam line. And we're going to cut around it once, twice, 3 times, and we're going to make 4 of each of the colors. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to place our line, A1, get our ruler, and go ahead and go all the way around. And don't forget the little mark at the bottom. Okay, next. Whoops. And don't forget the bottom. And the last one. So you see you fit 4 of these very nicely across the length of your fabric. Another tool that would be very handy to use would be your cutting mat that's actually a turntable, so you don't have to reach in front of you. Okay, so all this is discarded. All right. what we're going to do first is make quadrants. We're going to sew the 3 colors together 4 times. So let's lay them out. We're going to do the blue. You could do these in any order, just stay consistent. We're going to do blue, green, and then orange. And we'll do another one. Blue, green, and orange. All right, just put them in their little quarters, because we're going to need, this makes a 90-degree because they're 30-degree angles. So 3 of them will make my corner, my 90-degree corner. So the first thing we want to do is put our green with our blue, and we're going to match this up at the end and at the point. These are the exact same size, so they should fit right on top of each other. Okay, so we're going to start sewing our 1/4 inch all the way down, trying not to flip our open seams. We're going to keep these nice and flat. Okay, so let's go over and we'll sew a 1/4 of these. I'm just going to do the blue, green, and orange for now. So again, we're going to start at a 1/4 inch and sew down. Make sure that you keep, like I see a little bit of blue on this side, so I'm going to kind of scooch my top one over so that I have a nice even, I don't see any blue underneath, and there's no green showing from the other side. We're going to go all the way down to the point. You're running out of fabric, I understand. If you want, you can certainly put a pin here because this stretches. This is very biased right here. So certainly if you are concerned that things are shifting on you, please put a pin in the beginning and the end, and maybe 2 in the middle just to help you out. But I'm kind of holding it and feeding it at the same time. So as you get closer, just be careful that it doesn't push out of the way. All right, so there we go. So we're going to do all 4 of the green and blues. And what we're going to do is really important so that these stay nice and open and the center stays flat. So right here is our seam allowance, and we want to trim away this portion of our seam allowance so that the centers of our star stay nice and flat. Okay, so I'll show you. I'll just cut this. So really close to the seam, and then away. Okay, like a little V. Next thing we want to do, you want to do that for every single one that you sew together. So now we're going to press this seam open. All right, so let's go over here. All right, so press this open all the way down to the point. Get that nice and open. And now we're going to go ahead and add the orange. So here's my orange piece. And same thing, we're going to match it up at the top corner here, all the way down on top of the green. And again, we'll sew a 1/4 inch all the way down, making sure we don't flip our seams. And again, if you'd like, put a pin in the top and the bottom and a couple in between. Okay, I'm just going to hold it because, whoops. All right. Make sure that the sides are right on top of each other. They should fit right on top. And we'll sew a 1/4 inch. Putting 2 layers of starch on this has helped keep this from stretching out of shape, and actually gives it a lot of stability when you get down to that point. Okay, so again, we'll pull that out. And we're going to trim our little point again. All right, so we're going to come in very close to the edge, to the seam, to the thread, and we'll just give it a little curve outwards. It's pretty wide, it's about 1 inch. Okay, and one last good press. Don't worry about our threads because that'll all get trimmed off. So we're just going to hold this open. And just come straight down and to the point. A little bit of heat just to hold it on, and that's it. We have our quadrant. So we're going to make 4 of these. Once 4 of these are sewn together, we're going to sew 2 of them together to make half, and that's what I've done up here. Okay. As you can see, I've got my halves done up here. So let's take these down, and I'll show you a trick how to meet them in the center. Okay. Oh. Okay, so on each half, and it doesn't have to be super perfect, we're going to take a pin, and what we want to do is make sure that this point matches up with this point. So this point and that point. I'm off a little bit, and I'm okay with that. It's fine. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this one over, and I'll show you here. We're going to take up the top one, and we're going to stick a pin into this point. And then we're going to take that pin and we're going to poke it right through that point, just so that our edges, our seams match and we don't cut off our points. All right, so once I have that together, I'm just going to put a little pin, and we're going to sew from the center out toward the outside. If this matches up, that's fine. If it's a little bit off on the end, that's fine too, because don't forget, we're going to be trimming that away. All right, so let me put a little bit of a pin here. And this time, I'm going to turn my stitch length up, like to a little bit of a basting stitch, because if it's not perfect, I want to be able to go ahead and rip that out very easily and try it again. So I'll just put my 1/4 inch foot down, just by the pin here. Okay, and then we're going to give it a go. Okay, we'll pull that pin out, and this pin we'll replace with, let's see how that looks. And we're going to sew all the way out on a basting stitch, and then if it's good, we're going to come back and do the whole thing. All right, so let's take a look, see if it came out okay. If not, I have another opportunity. I think that's okay for me. I'm okay with that. It looks like they all meet up pretty close to the center. So I'll put them back together, and what I'll do is I'll start in the center again, and since I'm happy with it, I'll turn my stitch length back down to a 2 and continue to sew that, turn it around, and come back over the same one. This just holds it in place until I can come back. And again, if I didn't like it, I'd be able to go ahead and rip it out. All right, so let's finish this up. And I usually piece with a 2.0. So let's go back over it where I was. I see my thread was right here. So I'm just going to stitch right back on that threads again. Get that over. Put those right on top. Flip your little seams that you pressed open. And now I'm going to turn it over one more time and get the one that I basted. And I'm going to sew right down on it. Okay. All right, so this one is now going to get pressed open as well. So I'll do a little pressing here. Just open up your seam. There we go, get it started. The hardest part is in the center, trying to open the center one, but do the best you can. Okay, so we'll do that. All right. Get that center nice and flat. And continue to press your seam open. There we go. All right, give it one final press, and we're going to grab our 12.5-inch ruler, and we're just going to square it and be done with it. All right, so let's go grab this. All right, so what you're left with is an oversized block. And with the new Creative Grid rulers, you notice that not only are the numbers bigger than they used to be, but they also came up with this nice white centering line with a center circle. So this is, if this is 12.5, these are at, was 6 3/4? 6 1/4, sorry. And the center is right here, and all I'm going to do is use my seams on the white lines to make sure that they're centered. So there's a couple ways we can turn this. As you can see, here's my white line going down in my center, so I'm just going to scooch that over. I can trim it like this if I like it this way, where the blue, green, and orange are in this quadrant, and then this one's blue, green, orange, and that's typically what I would do. Or I can turn it one little rotation, and this would be off just a little bit in the corners, as you can see. So each one, this one would be green, orange, blue. Okay, so it's totally up to you how you want to trim them. It's just line up your Creative Grid ruler, and then we're going to trim all the way around. Okay, once we're happy with that, we'll give it a final trim, and that takes care of that. So there's a lot of waste on this block, but your kits have all the fabric that you need, and there we go. There is additional help on the internet, on YouTube. If you go to the Creative Grid, you put in the search Creative Grid Starburst 30 degree, a tutorial comes up. Watch that tutorial as well. It gives you a lot of information and different patterns that you can make using this block. So the kits will be available for pickup Saturday, September 19th. We open at 10, from 10 to 4 on Saturday. You have all month to pick it up. I really do miss everybody. If you need the ruler, you can call the store. We're at 860-793-6639. And I miss you, and have a good day. Bye.